Hi everybody, my name is Radu, and about 10 years ago I started working for Oxygen XML editor. I have like 5 years experience working with DITA, meaning helping with the DITA implementation in Oxygen, helping our end users with specific DITA related problems, and trying to evolve Oxygen to add more DITA related improvements to it. As you all know, DITA has this particular side that it allows you to restrain or specialize its vocabulary. So by this constraint, I mean that you can take that vocabulary and make it more restrictive. Remove elements from the content model or disallow certain elements to occur in certain places. And this is what we're going to do today. We're going to create a DITA Open Toolkit constraint plugin. And we're going to do this by first creating the constraint in RelaxNG and then converting that RelaxNG to DTDs. So here's the initial problem we'll try to solve in this presentation. DITA has an element called section, and its content model is very relaxed. So, for example, I have a DITA topic here. It has a section with text inside it, with paragraphs, and with 2 titles. And it's all valid, you know. So from a technical writer's point of view, they could write anything there and it's still valid. So maybe an information architect needs to restrict this section to make it fit a particular use case.
We still try to, to use the
and fail.
It's too much.
Yeah, so here's my simple section with lots of things inside it, titles, text, and it's valid. And from an information architect's point of view, this is a nightmare. People could write anything inside this. So what we want to do today is to prohibit text content in sections directly, to make title as the required first element inside the section, not to allow the title to occur several times in the section, and not to allow inline elements like bold, italic, and underline occur directly inside the section. So just a minute. We'll start with a small example. So as I showed you, the DTD based topic, we'll change its public ID. So I took this same topic and duplicated it, and it looks like this. It has the same content, but the public ID is different. I just added a synchro. So instead of the public ID from Oasis, I just added synchro to it. Because once you create a specialization or a constraint, you need to change your public IDs. You cannot change directly in the DTDs provided by the Oasis, by Oasis. And here are the prerequisites. You need to download and install the latest DITA-OT 2.1.1. Actually, 2.2 is now released. I downloaded separately the DITA 1.3 schemas from this GitHub repository, and you need to integrate those DITA 1.3 schemas in your DITA Open Toolkit application. Some of my slides are out of order. So we solve this problem indirectly by creating a relaxing G topic which has the same problem. So the equivalent relaxing G topic of my initial DTD is this one, and it's based on the DITA-1.3 relaxing G, and again it's valid, so it's a problem, you know, so it has to, its content model is too relaxed. And the equivalent relaxing G topic for my specialization will have this URI, com oxygen XML section fixes synchrotopic relaxing G. And once I validate it, I see that my plugin does not yet work, so we need to make the plugin work first. So in order to first of all, we'll just look under the hood in my relaxing G base topic and see, okay, where is the section defined? So I can right click and say show definition, and I can find in my relaxing G specification of the data section, I can find a section element, and it refers to a section content. And this section content defines 0 or more, again, references to a section counter, and then defines something like a choice between text and any block type element and any inline type element, and so on. So in order to make this content model more restrictive, we'll need to rewrite this a part of these definitions in the relaxing G. So what we'll do now, we'll create a plugin folder for my specialization plugin. I named it, you know, com oxygen XML section fixes. It has a plugin configuration file, plugin.xml, and then an XML catalog. So in my DITA Open Toolkit installation, I have a plugin section, and in this plugin section, I have my plugin.xml, and my plugin.xml has quite a simple structure. It says that it defines a single extension, and which is the link to the catalog.xml. In Eastern, this catalog.xml will have an URI mapping for my custom URI, which points to my specific constraint shell. So for this constraint, I need to create two relaxing G files, the shell and the module. In order to create the constraint module for my constraint, I copied massively from the existing machinery task body constraint module.relaxing-g. So it was an existing constraint module, and in order to create the shell synchrotopic.rng, I based that on the original topic.rng available in the plugin. So looking into my plugin, besides the catalog.xml, I have a doctypes folder, and this has a relaxing-g folder. This is the module, and again, as I told you, I didn't have any previous experience, so I just copied a similar module that I found was quite close to what I needed. The module has a title, it has a comment, so it has metadata defined by Elliot Kimber as a way to add additional content to the module, so that when you generate the DTDs, this information will be used. And also, what's more important, this module specified that it's a constraint, and then it specifies DTD public IDs. So once somebody or a process can compile this module and generate the DTDs based on it, because it knows how to link the generated DTDs to a certain public IDs. And what this module does is that it includes the original topic module that I want to rewrite, and I redefine my section content. So it's this definition which was very relaxed in the initial content. So right now my section content will have a required reference to the title, and it will have 0 more choices of only block level elements inside it. Looking at the synchrotopic shell relaxng file, which again I copied from the corresponding topic.relaxng. Again, it has some metadata which has a title, a comment. So this comment will be placed in the DTD once the DTD is generated. It has a type and the DTD shell, the public ID which will be used when the DTD is generated. And it also defines a particular domains addition to the DITA domains attributes. Again, the only difference from the original topic.rng is this. So it includes the synchrotopic module because it needs to redefine that section content. So we'll integrate my small plugin, which right now doesn't have the DTD part, only the relaxng part. Looking around, I will run the DITA-OT integrator. You can also do this from the command line. I'm running it like this. So I've run the integrator. I can find my change topic based on relaxng. I validate it, and now I get additional problems which before didn't exist. It tells me that you shouldn't have text here. It tells me that the title should be the first item in the section, and so on. So this relaxng specialization starting to work. I cannot choose bold or italic here. I can only choose paragraph. I cannot have 2 titles in the specialization. So this is a more restricted content for the section, which would be more of a match for the technical documentation writer. And if all tools, all editors were relaxng compatible, our work will stop here. We have the relaxng specialization, and okay, it's a specialization, it works, it can be used, but most tools are not relaxng compatible, so we need a way to convert these to the DTDs, which are the most commonly used specialization formats. And Elliot Kimber's presentation last year at the DITA-OT Day was also about his tool for converting relaxng to DTD and XML schema. So here's a link to his presentation. And he made available a DITA relaxng conversion tool, which is a bunch of build files and XSLT scripts, which can be used and applied to the relaxng documents I already created and produce the DTDs. And you also need the latest Saxon libraries installed. So how it looks like after I downloaded Elliot's tools. So this is the DITA relaxng converter, which is downloaded. It has a Saxon folder which I created, and I added the latest Saxon libraries to it. And it has a build.xml which can be used in order to process relaxng documents either to DTD or to XML schema or to both. and also generates the catalog files required for the content to validate. So I made small changes to the build files. I set up some output folders for the generation because I wanted the data content, the DTD content, to be generated directly in my customization plugin. And after this, I ran 2 AND targets, generate DTD to produce the DTDs, and generate catalogs to produce the catalog mappings. And let's see if we can run this here. So I've opened this build file. I have a custom transformation from it called generate DTD. It just calls the build file with 2 build targets, generate DTD and generate catalogs, and it has parameters. One of them shows him where the DITA-OT distribution is placed, and the type of catalogs to output. So once I do this, and I go to my initial customization folder, I refresh it, and what happens now is that I have an additional DTD folder, and inside this DTD folder I have an extra catalog which points to this catalog, which was automatically generated by Elliott's processing tool, and catalogs which can now be used in order to validate data topics which are DTD based. And I also have the DTD folder, and I have the equivalent for my RelaxNG module, and this is the DTD for it. It was automatically generated. You see the section content here that it's more restrictive in nature, and the shell, which again references my synchrotopic.module in order to make the restriction possible. So one more thing I have to do right now is to go to the main catalog XML for my plugin and toggle this comment, which means that the next catalog used by my plugin is in the doctized DTD catalog.xml. After doing this, I can take my change topic, and as you see, I have yeah, I also need to run the integrator. I just run the matrix generator. I also run the integrator, I validate, and besides this schematron related error, I get errors by the validation tool that you're not longer allowed to place text directly in the section. The content completion shows me that and also if the section is empty, it tells me, well, the section should have a required title, so I need to insert a title. And after the title, I can only insert block level elements and not elements like bold, italic, and underline, which don't quite have meaning in the context of block only content. So I found RelaxNG constraints easier to implement, mostly because even if I had no clue what I was doing, I was just copying some existing RelaxNG constraints from the base Oasis plugins, and I was just changing them according to my needs. I made a certain number of steps in this presentation, but most of those steps can be automated. For example, I can run the integrator automatically after I run the Elliott-Kimber's RelaxNG to DTD processor. What cannot be automated is the part in which the RelaxNG constraints need to be defined, but these could also be somehow maybe visually edited with a specialized tool, because it's quite easier to create a tool which can edit RelaxNG constraints and specialization than to create a tool which edits DTD-based constraints and specializations. Yeah, so this is, yeah, that's it. That's my presentation. Elliot, thanks a lot for the processor. Yeah, it worked with a little number of tweaks. It worked for me. Yeah, so I kind of enjoyed not having to do the DTD work manually and not having to read a tutorial about this, just copying some stuff and just changing it to make it work.
Yes.
Yes.
Does the restriction also work?
No.
Does the restriction also work in the sorry, in the author view?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you are in the text or out or any other.
Yeah, so either in the author or in the text mode, you can no longer insert inline elements. If I remove the title, it tells me element is required because the author mode is pretty much based on the schemas used for the data content. It picks up hints from the schema like what element is required and stuff like this. Other questions?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a very basic question. Maybe I'm not technical enough, but where's the link to the open toolkit? I thought these constraints are something that you can use to sort of limit what you can do in sort of on top of the DTD, so that you don't really change the DTD, but you introduce these constraints.
Okay.
And wouldn't the open toolkit still be able to process the thing, even if it's now following a more constrained what you can do in the topic? But I'm missing the link to the open toolkit.
Yeah, so this is the Dita Open Toolkit plugin, and both the editing part works because the editing part looks at the XML catalog from the DITA-OT, but the DITA-OT processing should also work just as well for this, for my specializations. If I create a map which has reference to my specialization topics, I can publish it and it will work as long as the DITA-OT has this plugin installed in it.
So the trick, if you can go back to the plugin XML part, the idea is that you have that descriptor, that plugin XML within the Dita Open Toolkit. When you run the integration process of the Dita Open Toolkit, that plugin gets installed in the Dita Open Toolkit. That means the Dita Open Toolkit catalog will point to that catalog that Radu added for his plugin. And now whenever you use that, either the URN for the Dita or the public ID for the DTD in your topics, both, Oxygen in this case or the Dita Open Toolkit will find that schema, and you'll use that for getting the class attribute values, for instance, which are required for publishing, or using that for content completion or validation or all that. But the idea is that creating a Dita Open Toolkit plugin is as simple as that. It's just 3 lines of XML basically, and then you need to set up a catalog and a schema.
Any more questions? So Elliot, did I make a proper specialization or constraint, sorry?
Constraint, yeah. So I suppose I'm obligated to make a small terminology correction. Nothing you did here was specialization, right? Because specialization is the definition of new vocabulary based on existing vocabulary. Here you were doing configuration and constraint. Yeah, so nobody understands it, but we try to make a clear distinction between configuration, so like adding or removing a domain, constraint, which is what you've done here, which is making things more constrained, and specialization, which is the much more involved action of actually creating new vocabulary. And the nice thing about Relax G is it makes doing these things that are simple conceptually simple in practice. Whereas with DTDs, they're simple conceptually and difficult in practice, right? So this is cool. I was just going to say back to Sven's question, the connection for me to the Open Toolkit is we're using the Open Toolkit's plugin service as a way of managing the configuration of our DTDs, of our grammars, through the catalogs, so that we don't have to do that the old way, which was hard, right? So any tool that uses XML catalogs, which should be all of them, even though it's not, but it's most of them, can use the catalog that the OT manages for us. So by putting your grammars, your DTDs or your XSDs or your RNGs into an OT plugin and then deploying it, you have 1 point of configuration management rather than 10 points of configuration management, right? That's the way I look at it. And then once you've done it, Oxygen can use it, the Open Toolkit can use it, you know, any other XML-aware tool that uses catalogs can use that exact same catalog, right?
Any more questions? Okay.
Thank you, Radu.
Thanks for attending. Thank you.